the side is also getting really active. So yeah, hey Shresth, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. Yeah, exciting Friday today. I think everyone's really excited to hear hear everything you have to say today. So yeah, I think what we'll do is I'll just get started with a bit of an introduction, and then you can go into a bit more details about that, and people will continue to join, and we'll get to the community questions afterwards. Right. Perfect.
Sounds
So
good.
yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, the Pod AMA today. I know it's been a really exciting sort of last few weeks. When everything was announced, and the community chat has been really active. A lot of excited people, a lot of questions, and yeah, I think it's just a good chance for me to introduce Shresth Agrawal, who's the CEO of Pod Network. And for those who don't know, prior to Pod, Shresth worked at Common Prefix, which is a science-based consulting firm where he collaborated on infrastructure projects, including Axelar, Flashbots, Niston Labs, and Espresso. And yeah, Shresth is, of course, passionate about driving mainstream blockchain adoption and believes consensus-less networks are a crucial step towards that goal. So yeah, it sounds like you've really been around Shresth, and I'm sure it'd be really interesting to hear a bit about your story and your journey.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks for the warm introduction, and hello everyone. Thanks for joining today's AMA. Yeah, I've been in the blockchain space for now like 6 7 years. I've always been technical. I started as a smart contract developer and algorithm designer for some of the early DAOs and DeFi protocols. Um, oh, somebody's saying cannot hear. Mm, No. Uh, can you guys hear me? Just thumbs up.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going. Yeah. So I started as a smart contract developer, algorithm designer, and work for some of the DAOs and DeFi protocols that held hundreds of millions of dollars. Then I got very interested behind the science and cryptography of blockchains. That's when I met my other co-founder, Dionysus, who I worked with and did some research, wrote paper on light clients, built first ever light client called Kevlar. And for the past 2 years, I've been working at Common Prefix, leading some of the infrastructure related projects, also auditing some security critical projects. Yeah, and since then we've been like, as mentioned earlier, we work with some of the top projects in the space, L1s, L2s, and we saw some common problems across projects, and one of them was flashbots. We were trying to look into decentralizing their Swav platform, which does the PBS auction, and from there we started looking into, um, that's where Pod came out, which was like, okay, we can build something which does not have a total consensus, and I'll tell more about it later. And yeah, we saw that kind of fitting in a lot of our clients, but also thinking about what we can do using something like this. And that was kind of just a little bit of a backstory. But also, I mean, we are all like builders, at Common Prefix. There's, researchers and scientists. They've been in the blockchain space. Also, people who are at Pod now. Uh, and, we've been in the space, so we've formed a lot of opinions on how to build an L1 right. Like we've seen a lot of other projects doing it wrong again and again. And we thought, this is our opportunity to build a new network from scratch that can scale and get the mass adoption that we need. Yeah,
Great. Thanks for that, Trev. Yeah, certainly sounds like you've, yeah, first of all, really, really smart. But yeah, it sounds like you got a lot of great experience and had some really, really interesting journey, which I'm sure has, yeah, as you said, really led to where you guys are today, and with Pod, and for your next journey, which I think, yeah, always exciting. When you're leading the charge of something that you've got a lot of passion and insight on. So yeah, I'm sure that everyone will be excited to be on the journey with you. And yeah, I think just in terms of Pod Network, you touched briefly on a few things there, but I think just to give everyone a bit of insight into understanding exactly what pod is, a bit more about what the platform is all about, and sort of how it stands apart, and just some of the unique selling points in terms of technology, innovation, and as well as a future roadmap. So yeah, just give everyone a bit of an introduction into what pod is all about.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Um, yeah. So let me start from the technology side, and then I can also fill in kind of on the vision and why the technology fits. So if you look at most of the existing Web3 protocols, right, which are like blockchains, um, you can almost think of them as like they're processing all the transactions using a single computer, a single process thread that is kind of ordering everything, right? The core of most of the blockchains are, consensus protocols, and you've heard of maybe proof of stake or proof of work. And the you can think of this as like a pipe, the consensus protocol, which takes transactions as input and outputs them in some order. And there's this like, consensus protocols today are like monolithic. They're single uh, process, which is kind of ordering everything. So, think of processing the internet traffic in a single computer. I mean, that would not hold, and it will become the bottleneck. And that is the case for today's blockchains out there. um, Whenever we put any kind of real traffic to it, it slows down. It has a lot of queuing. The gas price spikes, and b- builders have been trying to get real adoption or building real applications on it, but it's very hard to build anything that is even close to what users are familiar with today. With Pod, what we do is we take out this the centerpiece, which is consensus, and this allows us to finalize transactions almost instantly in single network round trip. So when I say we take this out, what we have is our new primitive, which we call as pod, and that what it does is instead of having this global order, we don't have everything uh, getting a global order, but now it gets finalized, but there is no ordering. And allowing to relax this requirement makes the whole network asynchronous, so transactions do not block the whole system. If you some of you are like software developers or technical people, you might know about locks, and you can think of consensus as acquiring the lock to the global table, while like pod makes it only acquire lock to the state you're accessing. So that's kind of the technical side, but then what this leads to is you can build applications on top which can scale to internet scale, which means that now we can build Web3 products which have the latency and UX that is very close to when you would use a traditional web-based system while still being decentralized. Yeah, so that's kind of the key selling point of Pod. We are EVM compatible, so people can take EVM smart contracts written in Solidity and deploy it on Pod. We are building something called as EVMX. This is still not fully published yet, and we'll be sharing more details on this soon, which is an extension of EVM which allows for having smart contracts which have this very fast low latency transactions. And yeah, I'm quite excited to have some of the cool applications built on top. We already have a version of Pod which is ready and has a it's in our private devnet state. So we have some of the partners trying to integrate um, with our private devnet, and we will be announcing some of them at ETH Denver. Some of the team members will be at ETH Denver, and we will be announcing some of our early integrations. We are also actively pursuing building some applications internally on top of the private DevNet, and hopefully we'll be giving access to some of the devs to use the private DevNet and try it out, give us feedback, and then slowly progress towards getting it to a more testnet guys. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Shresth. That was yeah, really interesting, and I think yeah, I think really exciting to get to that next stage. And you know, I think with all these types of protocols, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what people you know, as you said, build on top of. You know, I think there's always so many different use cases across blockchain. So yeah, I think it'd be really exciting. And for those who are developers, you know, just to let you know also that. We have got the developer channel where you can get your developer roles. You know, where you'll be kept up to date with when that DevNet does go live, and where you can also just interact with everyone else. So yeah, if you're a developer and you haven't got your roles yet, you know, make sure to go to the role select or just connect your GitHub account to Discord, and you'll automatically get access to that. So yeah, so that if you're devs, you know, all the really smart techie guys, join that channel and interact with everyone. Great stuff. Perfect. Well, yeah, thanks, Shred. So I think what we'll do now is we've got a couple of community questions. We had some questions which were asked ahead of time during the week. So we'll basically cover a few of those questions, and then we do have one or two people that have raised their hands that may have one or two questions that would like to come on stage. So we can also bring them on and hear what they have to say. And yeah, and then we'll go from there. There's a few more in the live chat also. Perfect. So yeah, so I think I really like this question because I think within the community, you know, you've always got, as I said earlier, developers, but you've also got a lot of other people who, yeah, may not necessarily be developers, but still very interested in talk and in tech and emerging technologies, and just kind of interested in everything. So here is a question here, which was, you know, in terms of like use cases and real world applications, you know, is there, you know, could you give some potential examples of, you know, what are sort of the real world products that could be built on Pod that could, you know, help people in their everyday life, I suppose. So I don't know if there's anything
Mm.
ongoing around that, but yeah, well, what are some of the use cases you could see people exploring?
Yeah. Um, the interesting thing here is we want to move the whole internet to pod, and it's kind of like every application that you see that's running on internet today, which is it's either going to be peer to peer, like I'm sending a message to you, or it can be built on this new internet, which is decentralized. But maybe to kind of give a more concrete answer on like which applications could really show and outperform in the pods architecture, um, we will we will start with for example payments. Payments are one of the use cases which, you know, Bitcoin and early blockchain was one of the first use cases of blockchain, and we have not been able to solve that yet. And payments is something that can scale very well in asynchronous network. It does not need consensus. Similarly, we have fully on-chain games, decentralized socials, marketplaces. So, you know, you can think of intent-based marketplaces for limit order-based dexes, or marketplace for block space auctions, um, marketplace for proofs, and all of these marketplaces can run on Pod in a very efficient way, and settle on Pod. So yeah, these are some of the early use cases that we are targeting. But as I said, we are not limited to any of these. We want to see almost all of the web apps to move to this new internet, and you know, it will take time, and it will be a step by step process. But yeah, that's kind of.
Great, thanks. Yeah, yeah, really interesting that. I think, as you say, there's yeah, almost no no specific limits. So yeah, I think really interesting, and yeah, really, I think yeah, very you know, ambition, a lot of ambition as well. You know, and getting that whole internet and decentralization, I think is exactly what what kind of still lacks right now on blockchain massively. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see that. Perfect. And then yeah, we've got another question here. We'll do a few more of the pre-asked questions before we get some of the live ones. But there's actually two people who've asked a similar type of question in terms of people are interested in running potentially, node validators, and things like that. So is that something that would be being brought forward in terms of validator nodes, run by, community node operators, snapshot nodes,
Yeah.
or any other RPC services? Is that sort of anywhere on the roadmap for accepting community node operators?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as we go ahead and build this out, we would want people to run different kinds of nodes using archive nodes, relayers, being validators, participating in the active validator set. And these things will come up as we go. At the moment, we are still, as I mentioned earlier, in a private DevNet phase where everything is run by us. But in the next months, we will open up to having people run parts of the protocol until a point where everything is run by the community, for the community, right? We don't want to be running this. It has to be decentralized.
100%. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's great to hear. And yeah, I think that'll be really exciting when we get to that stage on the roadmap. Perfect. So we'll do one more question from the week, and then I think what we'll do is bring in a couple of people onto the stage. Always great hearing some live questions coming on. So I think one of the ones which you touched on earlier is Pod Network offers ultra fast transaction speeds, 200 ms with a consensus design. How does that, impact or challenge security and decentralizations? And are there any trade-offs compared to traditional consensus mechanisms? So yeah, quite a technical question. We've got some technical people in the group, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that's a very good question. So in terms of security, we we still provide Byzantine resilience and accountable safety, which means that some part of the network can be Byzantine, like that is provided by other consensus protocols, proof of work, proof of stake. So it's not proven in crash faults. It's actually there can be parties which are completely malicious and be trying to break the network, and the network is still secure. And we have some of our scientists currently in the AMM. I can see their logos here. So they've written paper, which is already live as well. You can check pod.network/paper, and there are proofs which completely lay out how that's done. And we have different models and different kind of adversarial resilience for those models, and it's very close to what you would get with other proof of stake based networks. So on terms of security, it's very similar to any other consensus protocol that's out there. In terms of trade-off, going more technical, right? When you get consensus, it's everything is globally, like it gets a total order. So running a virtual machine on top is much simpler. You get full synchronization, but of course it becomes the bottleneck when you kind of asynchronize. You have multiple things happening at the same time, and whenever you want to kind of synchronize, you would have to pay for that additional cost. And there will be, like, whenever you want to compose applications, there has to be other things that have to be built on top to allow for that. So there will be slight overhead, let's say, in terms of developers building on top to understand this new paradigm, and to build and effectively use it. And I think that's where the trade-off will lie. Um, yeah, so it's more on the applications and builders building on top, and not so much on the security um, itself and the decentralization. In fact, we can achieve much higher decentralization than existing consensus-based networks.
Great, awesome, thank you. That was a great answer, and yeah, a really good question also. So yeah, sounds really interesting. So I think what we'll do is let's see what some of the live people that would like to ask a couple of questions. So just a quick one, guys. Excuse me. On the live questions, when you come onto the stage, please ask your question sort of within one, sort of 1 minute max, just so that we can give everyone an opportunity and make sure we get the most out of this. So the first person is Fitra, who's yeah, they got like their name Mango. Someone else. There's a few mangoes around here, so I assume they're all from the same community group probably. But yeah, Fitra, I'll bring you on stage, and yeah, you can introduce yourself, and you can then ask the question. So yeah, I've invited you on stage if you'd like to come on. See if they come on. Give them a few seconds. Go here. Okay. If anyone here. Cool. I brought on Stably. Stably. Hi, Stably. Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself, and yeah, you can then pass on the question for Shresth. Hello. Hi, Stably.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, I'm Stably, and I had a quick question for Shred. So, how are you guys at Pod going to make it easier for Web2 developers to transition to building on Web3?
That's a very good question, and we are actively thinking about this. I mean, of course, there'll be a lot of SDKs and tool chains that will be built that will allow you to very easily just build on top, so that you don't have to know the low level details of blockchains. But then there are some more advanced things that, it's not fully laid out, but we are thinking about, which is like adding, for example, SQL interface on top um, of our like basic consensus protocol, so that you can, because most of the Web2 developers are familiar with SQL and normal traditional databases. And if you think of this of Pod as a high level primitive, at the end it's providing some kind of Byzantine resilient database with certain additional execution layers. So we could do some of those things to allow people who are familiar with these kind of technologies can very easily just start using it and integrate with the systems. But it's again not fully laid out. I think the first step would be to just provide very rich frameworks, SDK, toolchain, and then maybe also start building these other kind of VM interfaces on top that allows for Web2 developers to use more easily.
Awesome, thank you, thank you. I have one more question if you don't mind me asking.
Go ahead.
I heard one of you guys mention something about espresso systems. How are you guys thinking about integrating that, and what is it going to do for Pod?
Yeah, so we are not integrating with Espresso. We know the Espresso team very well because of our. Uh, so I used to work at Common Prefix, where I mean, Common and Espresso was one of the clients of Common Prefix. I personally audited some of their cryptographic implementations, and we know the team. We don't plan to integrate with them. We know the team. They're working on different things. Um, there there are some components. The Espresso, for example, has an auction internally, and we are talking to their team if they want to use our technology to build auctions on Pod. Um, but that's about it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Debly. Great question, and yeah, straight to the point. Awesome, perfect. Cool. We'll do one more, just one more. So we've got Gaiji here. So I'll invite them to speak and just do one more question, and then yeah, there's still yeah, other questions which yeah, we'll the team will get into, and we can yeah, answer those there. See if Gaiji's gonna jump on now. Cool. See, give me a few seconds. Okay, they're not there. All right, perfect. Cool. So I think what we'll do is we'll go through one more question, and that's just a bit about a bit about the roadmap. So what are the details of Pod Network's roadmap, and do we have any idea in terms of like the test net launching and things like that?
Yeah, so we are we currently have a version of Pod which supports some features to build some of the applications that I mentioned earlier, and it's in the private DevNet phase. We are giving it access to very selected devs and some integration partners. The plan would be to get more feedback in the next few months, and probably around 6 months mark is when I think we will be much closer to having a more public rollout of our testnet. Yeah, and then probably uh, another couple of months to like test. Yeah, get more feedback. Maybe if you have a few versions before we can go anywhere close to a mainnet. So at least a 6 months to a testnet, I would say.
Great. Amazing. Thanks, Shresth. I think we'll basically get to wrapping it up now. I think thanks a lot for thanks a lot for really answering all the questions, doing an introduction. I think it's been really interesting. We've had some really technical questions also. So I think really exciting to see the developer community start building and coming together. And then I think just finally, just to touch on the ETH Denver, because you mentioned earlier that you'll obviously be there. I know you're doing a few talks, to be doing a few announcements. So just for the community to be aware, we will be creating a ETH Denver channel. Inside that ETH Denver channel, anyone who's attending and the community would like to perhaps meet up, or you'd like to perhaps, go to some of the talks. There'll be all the information around Pod there, but also a great way for everyone just to connect, and possibly meet up. We know how important the community is around everything. So we'll make an announcement on that channel, and then everyone can connect there. And the team will also send us some updates and just a bit about what they're up to there. So it's a very very big event, obviously. So a lot of excitement around that. But I think we'll leave it there, and I think hopefully everyone's really had a great time listening and learning a bit more. And as I said, there's still a few other questions which we'll go into the channels and manually reply to those. Thanks again for your time, Shresth. I know how busy you must be. So I think it really goes a long way, and I think everyone really appreciates it. And hopefully it's been good. Getting to meet some of the community members and answer the questions.
No, this has been amazing, and thanks a lot for organizing this, and thanks a lot for everybody joining. I'm really excited to be building Pod together with all of you guys, and we want to engage more of the community. So if you have any feedback for us, feel free to reach out, and also you know let us know. We'll be at ETH Denver. We'll be speaking at several events. If you have any technical questions, and if you want to build something on top of Pod, yeah, reach out.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks again. And thanks everyone for joining. And we'll someone just asked when is the next one. We'll communicate that. I think the team will be busy over the next few weeks, going to ETH Denver and things like that. But we'll definitely make an announcement as soon as we have the next one planned. So stay tuned, and continue to interact in the community, ask questions, and we'll get back to those as soon as possible. So thanks everyone, and hope everyone has a great Friday and a great weekend, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you.